All right, looks like the race is starting. So, I guess the first thing that they're doing here is they're gonna pick up a hammer from the shop, which they're gonna use to glitch into the knight's armor. So, basically, in this version of the game, you can glitch equipment basically from a weapon to an armor, or vice versa, from an armor into a weapon if they have the same internal ID, and you switch to a different character. Basically, at the same time you would have equipped the original item on a character, you'll get that item with the different type, the armor versus weapon, um, on that character. So it's a good way to get some really powerful equipment early in the game.
Yeah, it's based on the memory cursor option in the configuration settings. If that's turned on, it makes the glitch possible.
Yeah, that way you have on one character, you have it on your cursor on the weapon slot, and one on the weapon and one on the armor slot, and then when it flips over, it just has the same ID, but you're on a different type of slot. So it lets us get really good weapons and armor early in the game, and also lets us make multiples of those items as well, because you can glitch a weapon onto any armor slot, not just the one it belongs on.
You can actually go armor to armor and weapon to weapon, but it doesn't happen in this run.
Yeah, you can do it if you want to, but just to do a duplication. But we don't do that.
This is a pretty simple start of the game. You'll see them running for most encounters on the way to the initial Chaos Shrine. We'll just talk quickly about the party composition. For most of the racers in this tournament, I think almost all the racers will be using the exact same party composition. It's pretty much currently believed to be the optimal party for this. The warrior we use, the warrior is the basis for a lot of the item glitching, so we put him in the party in order to be able to get items from one character to another character, because he's got the greatest range of equipment that he can equip. The thief is actually, with the equipment that we'll be getting in this run, he's one of the strongest melee fighters, and will be probably doing the most damage over the course of the run. The white mage will be used for healing, but that will be very, very late in the run. And the black mage will be used for haste and teleport primarily, spells that we'll obtain much later in the run, which will let us save a bunch of time escaping dungeons and speeding up our characters during some of the last fights in the game.
Yeah. One other thing that we did with that Knight's Armor glitch is we made an extra one, and then we sold it, and that lets us buy all the potions, antidotes, and Phoenix Downs that we'll need for the entire game.
Yeah, money's not a concern in this run, so
yeah,
we're not going to see any 15 puzzle. We could do that, but we're not going to. Most people won't be doing it, especially in a race setting.
Yeah. Yeah, so what Forsyth was saying, that 15 puzzle, once you get the ship, you can do a little sliding puzzle, and if you complete that within 30 to 60 seconds, you have a 1 in 6 chance of getting an emergency exit item, which could save a lot of time trying to leave the Earth Cave, but the odds of getting it are so low, and you have to be good at the puzzle, that most people don't go for it. And in a race, it would be really bad to go for it, because there's absolutely no guarantee you'll get it. So, as for the story, they've defeated the first boss, Garland, and rescued the princess. She gives you the loot, which is an item that we'll need right at the very end of the game, but you get it here at the beginning, and it's worth noting in this version you can't not get it. If you try and leave the room without it, like was that Xelnas just did, the princess calls you back and
just like that.
Yeah. It's faster if you go and talk to her yourself instead of having her call you back, but it only loses like maybe a second. So
yeah.
So now,
I'll talk about the runners.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think we've introduced them. Xelnas. Many of you may have been watching him earlier. He was streaming a Final Fantasy X run, but I believe he's seeded around. He's a 15th seed in this tournament. There was just a 32-man tournament when we started it, and currently has a PB of 1:32:27. And as for Shinbreaker, he's the 20th seed right now in the tournament, and his current PB is 132.34. So there's only 7 seconds between these guys' PBs right now. So this should be a very, very close race.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to some chaos to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, anything can happen in this run. Anyone who has a relatively good PB can beat anybody else just based on the RNG that you get from enemy encounters in this game.
So thus far, Shinbreaker's currently ahead as he's gotten the better of the RNG to this point. They're making their way over to Provoca. Currently, Xelnas is in one of the opening cutscenes. There's not many of these, and luckily they're skippable in this version of the game. But they're both just continuing on at this point. So the strategy, for most of this is just to run away from all enemies. The only enemies they're truly worried about at this stage are wolves, and not really for danger purposes. It's most just for wasting time.
Yeah, wolves are difficult to run from, so you pretty much never want to see them. But most of the enemies in this area are pretty easy to run from, so...
now that we glitched the Knight's armor onto all the characters, that gives them enough defense that it reduces most of the attacks that enemies can land on us down to 1 or 2 damage at most. So we're not really in danger of dying.
Right. So Shinbreaker takes down the pirates. One thing we talked about the glitching the Knight's armor, but we kind of skipped over back in the Chaos Shrine. They picked up a leather cap, which they glitched into a Judgment Staff, and the Judgment Staff it's a pretty late game staff. It doesn't do a ton of physical damage, but the nice thing about it is if you use the Judgment Staff as an item, it casts Flare, which is the most powerful black magic spell in the game. So he was able to Xelnas is about to do it, is use that Judgment Staff on these pirates to just wipe out all 9 in one go.
Yeah, we'll use it throughout the run to clear out large groups of enemies. And if we didn't do it here, then they'd have to just probably spend 3 rounds physically attacking, which wastes a lot of time compared to just using that. It's like an 8-second animation. It does a lot of damage.
Yeah, that is the thing about Flare, is the animation is pretty long. So sometimes when you're in a group of 3 to 4 enemies, you have to decide, is it going to be faster for me to use the Judgment Staff once or attack 3 times? And the answer is usually like 3 times is about the same. 3 attacks is about the same as 1 Judgment Staff. So if you have more enemies than that, then you definitely want to use the Judgment Staff. Otherwise, it might be better to use attacks. So Xelnas here got the unlucky Sahagin Big Eyes Sea Battle, which those enemies are really hard to run from, and the Big Eyes will use Gaze on you, which can paralyze you, which gives you 1 less chance to run. So he's actually going to just use the Judgment Staff to kill them rather than try to run, even though optimally running would be faster if you run away the first attempt. There's absolutely no guarantee of that. So.
Yeah, seeing a lot of the sea encounters that we have in this game, there's not... the encounter rate on the sea is actually fairly low, but the encounters themselves can be pretty good at wasting time, depending on what enemies you run into.
Definitely.
So both runners are currently on their way to the Marsh Cave. It looks like Shinbreaker's entering Marsh Cave right now, and Xelnas just got off the boat, and he's going to start making his way over there. It's a bit of a walk, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of a walk, and a lot of forest tiles, which forest tiles have a higher encounter rate than regular tiles, like the grass tiles. So you want to stay off the forest when you can, but this area is almost all forest, so there's really not a whole lot of choice there for you.
So while they're in the Marsh Cave, the encounter rate again in the Marsh Cave is pretty low, but they're hoping to run from most enemies. Again, wolves can slow you down, and there's also packs of undead which can potentially paralyze your party members. And if they manage to paralyze everyone, it's what we call a paralock, and it can waste a lot of time and possibly wipe your run depending on just how unlucky you are.
Yeah, that paralock, the enemies can keep hitting you and keep re-paralyzing you, so it's hard to break out of it once you're in it. But if you get into a situation where you've got, say, 2 characters paralyzed, it's much safer to just attack them with the Judgment Staff and kill them instead of just hoping to run.
Yeah, a lot of this run, especially with a lot of the battles, it's up to runner preference how they really want to deal with them. I mean, it is always fastest probably try to flee, but if it's a small enough group, or if it's an enemy that could be very, very dangerous for you, it could be smarter to just try to wipe them out, either with physical attacks or with using the Judgment Staff to wipe out a larger group. And if you want to...
when you're racing, you definitely want to... I always tend to be more on the safe side and just kill the encounter rather than try and run, especially if I know it's going to be difficult to run from. So just so you don't sit there and just waste a minute on one encounter. It's better to waste 20 seconds than possibly a minute.
So we see Xelnas on the Pisco Demon fight. This is a forced fight, and he opted not to heal before it, running into them. But they're guarding an item called the Crown that we need to give to this guy on the right, Astos, in order to gain the Jolt tonic that we need to progress farther in the game. Omega Number says, what differentiates skill of runners at this? Honestly, a lot of it is just execution. It's pattern recognition for encounters and figuring out whether you want to attack or run as quickly as possible. As well, it's how well you know the route, how well you know the maps to get around, and how quickly you can get around between places. Later in the run, we'll pick up an airship, and if you're very familiar with where you need to go, you can very, very quickly get there.
Yeah, and the final thing that differentiates them is their execution on performing the glitch, because it can be kind of difficult to do all those. I don't think they're exactly frame perfect, but they're very tight windows, and you have to do it sometimes up to 12 times in a row. So getting good at that helps you really get a good time.
Xelnas seems to be struggling with his controller. He mentioned he was having problems with this earlier during his Final Fantasy X run, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it looks like he forgot to heal his warrior, so he's going to do that now.
Yeah, movement speed is enhanced in dungeons. Your movement speed is fixed on the overworld, unless you get except for the airship and the actual ship itself. The ship, you move faster, and in the airship, you move even faster. With them, there's no risk of enemy encounters in the airship. But on the overworld, I mean, they're moving as fast as possible as they can in this early stage. There's just a lot of walking around in the early half of the game. About halfway through, we pick up the airship, and travel becomes much quicker between locations.
Yeah. And one of the things they did in the very first menu of the game when they were setting their memory cursor was also turning the dash on, so that makes you walk a lot faster not on the overworld, but on the towns and the dungeons. And sometimes you go really fast, so sometimes optimizing your movement is difficult because you're just going so fast.
Okay, we see Xelnas on Astos, and Astos tried to cast Death, but luckily for Xelnas it missed. So the easiest, most efficient method here is to use this Judgment Staff with both of the mages and try to attack with the warrior and the thief, in case one of them suffers death from Astos. But I mean, if nobody dies, then that should be a one-round fight.
Yeah. So defeating Astos gets you the Crystal Eye, and they're going to take that Crystal Eye to Matoya. So that's what Shinbreaker is doing right now, is he's about to enter Matoya's cave. And, she'll give you the Jolt tonic, which you need to wake up the prince of the Elven Castle. So the beginning part of this game is a big fetch quest. You're just going to get the crown, to get the Crystal Eye, to get the Jolt tonic, to get the Mystic Key, which gets you the Nitro Powder, which blows up the canal, and then you have access to the rest of the world map. But it's quite a long way to go to get that just through all those different steps in that sort of fetch quest.
Yeah, I mean, an average race of this is going to take about an hour and a half, and you're going to spend more than 30 minutes usually in the early game just reaching the first of the 4 bosses that we need to be able to reach in order to restore the crystals.
Yeah.
So Shinbreaker's now got the Jolt Tonic, and he's going to make his way over to Alfheim, so he's got to go back to his boat slowly, because these wolves are getting in his way.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Xelnas has the Crystal Eye, and he's making his way to Matoya's Cave, which is where Shinbreaker just came out of. But he's got to board his ship first and then sail up there.
Yeah, so you can see Xelnas just got this Sahagin chief encounter with 7 of them, which is really bad because it's hard to run from. And if you fail to run, there's a lot of those Sahagins can just hit you and just waste time with having to watch every one of them attack. But he got away, fortunately.
Excuse me.
So you might have noticed Shinbreaker there just parked at the very outside of the dock and walked on those tiles. Even though the boat moves faster, you can get an encounter on those squares. So a lot of people like to park their boat as soon as they can, walk on the dock tiles, because that is a guaranteed no encounter on those tiles.
Yeah, you sacrifice a little bit of time, but it's lowers your potential, the number of tiles you can get an encounter on.
I mean, you sacrifice maybe a quarter of a second, but if you were to get an encounter on the sea, that could waste, 10, 20 seconds. So anyway, Shinbreaker has gotten the Mystic Key, and now he can open up the door here in this Elven Castle, and he picked up the Mithril Hammer, which he's going to use that to glitch into the Thieves' Armlet, and he's going to actually glitch 3 Thieves' Armlets on every character. And that Thieves' Armlet really increases their ability to run from enemies. So having that will make running much easier and help him to get away from battles much faster. So things are going to be a lot better with running from here on out.
I mean, one thing that some of you may notice is that we actually have 4 armor slots in our characters. So the 3 that they're using, and then a shield slot. We typically do not glitch items onto the shield slot, as if our characters block something with an item that doesn't really have a block animation in the middle of combat, it can soft lock the game. So for the most part, we leave the shield slot empty until later in the run.
Yeah, there's one item we'll get later in the run which is safe to put on the shield slot, and it's a really nice item. I guess I won't spoil it, but it's a really nice item that we can use, and then we can still have this great armor that we can use for evasion, and then use that shield slot for something else.
So Xelnas is entering Alfheim, the Elven Castle now, and he's waking up the prince. The prince will hand down the Mystic Key, and then what he's actually going to do at this point is he's going to exit the castle and then re-enter, as it's faster than actually walking around the castle directly to get to the treasure room, where he can pick up the Mithril Hammer and do the glitch. So you'll see him exit quickly off to the left, and then he'll re-enter the castle immediately.
Yeah, and then once he's done, actually they're going to go back in the town of Alfheim and pick up some gold needles, which are the items that will allow them to cure being stoned, or which is basically essentially instant death, but you can't cure it with a Phoenix down. So those gold needles, there's a chance you won't need them if you don't get stoned, but in a race, everyone should be picking those up, because it can happen by an ambush from several different enemies. So
it's a crazy big risk to ignore them in a race.
Yeah, it's worth saving the 15-20 20 seconds if you're really grinding for a PB or a world record, but in a race, it's essential.
So Shinbreaker's made it over to Mount Dwerger now, and he's going to hand over the nitro powder to this dwarf named Narek down here. We'll kick in a little cutscene while the canal is blown open.
Yeah, this seems to me like one of the longest cutscenes in the entire game. That gives you a little bit of a breather, but it's kind of annoying.
I like the little breaks in between this. It's just if you had like an hour and a half of straight running around and paying attention, it'd be a little.
Yeah, there's a few moments in the run where you get that little break, basically after every boss as well. So, or after every archfiend, I guess I should say, the bosses that guard the crystals. So yeah, so like Xelnas right now, he's picking up the nitro powder. The reason why you don't just get that right away is, of course, that door is locked. You need the mystic key to get in there. That's why we don't pick it up the first time we go to Cornelia.
Yeah, there's a number of doors that throughout this run that are locked by the mystic key. So it's one of the early objectives is to pick up that key as quickly as possible so we can continue on grabbing valuable items and moving towards the 4 fiends.
Yeah. Although I do believe that the one that we get where we get the metal hammer and that are the only locked doors that we actually ever open. So, but there are plenty of other ones that you would go for in a casual run. You might go back to the marsh cave. There's a number of doors at the bottom floor there that are locked.
I believe the one room in Western Keep is also locked with a mystic key.
Yeah.
And I actually learned through a Final Fantasy randomizer that there's a room in one of in the Sunken Shrine that's actually locked by the key.
That's kind of silly. You kind of have to have the key to get there. So.
Not in a randomizer.
Well, I guess that's a fair point. All right, so now we've got Shinbreaker coming up on probably the most important glitch of the game, and that's getting this barbarian sword, which he can access by buying the steel gloves here in Melmond. And the barbarian sword is the most powerful weapon in the game by a large factor. It's like 2.5 times as strong as the strongest weapon that you could get through the game like normally. The barbarian sword is obtained by beating the final boss of the final optional dungeon by going through it the most difficult way. But it does a tremendous amount of damage to everything.
Yeah, many of the items you see as glitching actually don't exist in the NES version or even the PlayStation version of this game. They were added as bonus items included with the bonus content in this version, I think specifically.
Yeah. You can't. This is the only version that has the barbarian sword. We'll see soon enough just how powerful it is.
So we see Shinbreaker now has entered the Earth Cave. We're actually going to have to make 2 trips into the Earth Cave, just due to the structure of how this is set up. So he's currently on the 2nd floor. He's heading to the 3rd floor, and that's as deep as he can go because there's an item that we need to progress further. But unfortunately, to get it, we have to first kill the vampire guarding the treasure chest on the 3rd floor and grab the Star Ruby.
Yeah, he's choosing not to take a save here, which is pretty risky. There's cockatrices on this floor, which can turn you to stone, and if you get ambushed by them, that can be a problem. If all 4 characters get turned to stone, you're dead.
It happened to me last year, so
yeah,
it's risky. It's risky. It's a low chance of it happening, but there is a risk, and here we go.
Yeah, I don't believe I've ever actually been completely killed by it myself, but it can. I've gotten 3 out of the 4, so it's pretty scary. And he did get cockatrices, and he got 1 character stone, but he was able to, escape from that battle and then heal him with the gold needles that he bought. So there's that's vampire down. One hit and he's down. That's how powerful the barbarian sword is.
Xelnas is currently doing the barbarian sword menu over there. You may notice a formation change that he's doing where he's rearranging the characters, and the only reason we're doing this is because with our party setup, it's not possible for us to straight up glitch it on all the characters in the current formation. The only character that can glitch it onto the others is the warrior. So we have to put it on 2 characters and then switch the character that we didn't get next to the warrior so that we can glitch it over to them.
Yeah, and another kind of intricacy of that is basically once you've glitched it onto one of the mages, you actually unequip it and then equip it on the warrior who can naturally equip it, and then you re-glitch it back onto that mage. So it's kind of a weird menu, but it's definitely worth it to get all 4 characters with the barbarian sword.
I mean, that sword is powerful enough to basically one-hit almost anything in this other than the bosses themselves.
Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, it's kind of weird that they let the warrior be able to equip it. You'd think they would have only made it available on the knight, but... Yeah, you know? I mean, only a knight could... Well, I suppose it's possible you could never do the class change, but... That would be something to try and beat Chronodia without the class change.
So now we've got Shinbreaker's currently on his way out of the Earth Cave, and we've got Xelnas on his way through the first time. So now that Shinbreaker's out, he's going to take the Star Ruby over to the Giant's Cave and feed it to the giant that's blocking our path. Once we get through the Giant's Cave, we'll get to the Sage's Cave, where we can pick up the Earth Rod, and the Earth Rod is the item we need to progress to the lower floors of the Earth Shrine in order to get to Lich. And yes, we do class change in this one.
Yeah, class change is definitely necessary. It lets us get the spells that we need and, perform some of the glitches as well.
They need it especially for the magic that a lot of the characters will be using later in the run.
Yeah,
so
that's
you'll
the
be
primary reason.
You'll be seeing us pick up the airship first, and then as soon as we pick it up, the first destination is to go over and get the class change as quickly as possible. That's coming up probably in about 15-20 minutes. Yeah, Shinbreaker through. Shinbreaker's making actually pretty good time so far.
Yeah, that's a really decent time for the Earth Rod here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. He might be ahead of his current PB. He was at the Nitro Powder.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine that he is. That's a really solid time.
All right, so now he's picking up the Earth Rod over here. If we had proceeded past to the vampire, there would have been a little a plate on the ground that would have been blocking the exit down to the lower floors. So we need the Earth Rod in order to remove that and continue forward.
Yeah. You may have noticed on Shinbreaker, he got into that group of encounters with shadows. They're kind of unique. You can only get into a preemptive or an ambush with them. You can't get into just a normal battle. And it's about, I believe it's 7/8 of the time you'll get into preemptive, which is good because you can run right away. Anytime you see a preemptive, you can guaranteed run first time. But an ambush, you have to wait for every single enemy to attack. So when you're looking for a good time, you're looking to have as few ambushes as possible. And when you do have them, you're hoping that they happen on encounters with a small number of enemies, 2 or 3. It is definitely a lot better than having an 8 or 9 enemy ambush.
So Shinbreaker is re-entering now the cave, and he's basically got to make his way all the way back exactly where he just was. 10 minutes ago.
Yep. So most runners know the Earth Cave extremely well because you're in it a lot.
What do you mean, Marinda? What do you mean by like 90% versus 10%? Like 10% being the best RNG or 90% being the RNG?
I mean, I guess the best way to say it is like, my PB is like a 126, but it's totally possible if I get bad RNG, I could get, without doing anything wrong, I could get anywhere from like a 137 to 138, just due to bad RNG. So it can make a difference of 10 minutes easily.
Yeah, RNG can definitely impact this run. I mean, Sigma's current PB set, I think, what was it, yesterday or the day before?
Day before, yeah.
I mean, his current time is what, in the 126 range, the low 126 range. I think it's 126.23, I want to say.
Yeah, that's right.
And he had a race last week, and his race time was in the 133 range, so that's quite a lot of RNG.
Yeah, my race time was 133.59, so barely in the 133 range. Yeah, so you can tell that that's what 7 minutes.
You're kind of seeing the difference already between Xelnas and Shinbreaker, because Shinbreaker's been getting better RNG, but he's also been executing better to this point, so he's just farther ahead at this point. But that's not to say that it can't flip around. If Xelnas gets a good streak going, he can definitely make up some time.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Shinbreaker in one respect, is that he doesn't seem to be doing safety saves, at least in Earth Cave so far. That can end a run.
If you're extremely unlucky, if you're extremely unlucky in the Earth Cave, it can definitely end your run. I mean, so at this point, so long as he saves before Lich, he's probably going to be okay.
Yeah. So, actually, he's coming up on Lich pretty soon here. So we'll talk about that in just a minute, of what Lich can do.
Another difference that wasn't really mentioned, but we have been referring to it, is that you can save anywhere in this version of the game, so you're not restricted to saving outside or anything like that.
Yeah, that's really nice. Literally anywhere you want, just save. Save right before the boss, and then if he does something really bad, you can just reset and lose maybe 10 to 15 seconds, as opposed to having to go through a whole dungeon again.
Well, Shinbreaker getting very lucky because he had 3 characters that were paralyzed in that fight, and if the White Mage had also been paralyzed, then he could have lost any amount, a lot of time, if not the whole party, over enough time.
Yeah, there's lots of these groups of undead that are difficult to run from and have a high chance to use or to inflict paralysis on your characters. I mean, this is a pretty dangerous place.
It's up to the runner's judgment when to really try to run and when to just try to kill the enemies that are preventing you from running.
Yeah. And one thing that I do is I sort of get a feel for how my characters are doing as far as running goes. Like sometimes it's just these characters on this run, they're just not running, and so when that sort of thing happens, I'll definitely be more safe and use Judgment Staff more often than if I feel like, they're running at a high clip. I can probably get away from these.
Shinbreaker also had to be careful. If you use an item in combat, like the staff, it remembers the position that you used the item from, and he previously had the Judgment Staff equipped on his mages, and then when we did the Barbarian Sword, we put that in the same slot where we were using it before. So if he's not careful, he could accidentally try to use the Barbarian Sword as an item, which does nothing but waste the round for the character that used it.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has done that from time to time. You have to be really careful when you switch over from Judgment Staff to the Barbarian Sword, that you go and select the Judgment Staff again. Then once you've done it once, the cursor's in the right place, and you're probably good for the rest of the run.
It's a very, very common mistake to make, especially as you're learning this game.
Alright, so Shinbreaker takes down Lich. That's good. He did save before, but Lich has a chance to use Blizzara on you, and if he does that, he's pretty much going to wipe your whole party right there. But usually you can get in 3 or 4 attacks before he attacks, and then even if you don't, he has like I think a 1/3 chance to use Blizzara and 2/3 to use a regular attack. So it's pretty low odds, but Lich can definitely kill your run. So you always would want to save in a race before Lich. So here you're seeing this extra little cutscene after Lich. He's basically unlocked one of the 4 bonus dungeons. This is the Earth Gift Shrine, and after every boss, you'll see a little cutscene where you see this cave and the little stone representation of the boss you just killed is gone, which lets you get in the cave. We're not going to go in the cave in this any percent run, but you still have to watch the cutscene for it anyway. But it's a nice break.
Shinbreaker still on PB pace right now. He's ahead of his current PB by about 30 seconds after the Lich.
Yeah, that's excellent. So now Shinbreaker is headed for Crescent Lake, which is the next place that we need to go to get the next item to progress into the game. Lich goes down for Xelnas, so he didn't kill Xelnas. That's good. So in Crescent Lake here, there's a bunch of elders, which have a lot of information for you about the game, but more importantly, one of them has the canoe, which is an item you need to progress. It lets you go across this sort of shimmering water that you'll see like right around Crescent Lake and also in rivers, and cannot get the canoe until you've defeated Lich. If you can come to Crescent Lake before Lich, but the Elder will not give you the canoe until you've defeated Lich, so definitely have to do Lich first. And Shinbreaker here is going to buy, he's going to sell his extra knight armors he doesn't need, and now he has enough money to buy a bunch of ethers, which we'll use later in the run to just replenish our magic. And then he's going to head over here to the weapon shop, buy the mithril axe, use that to glitch the black garb onto 2 of his characters, which is gives even better chance to run than the thief's armlet.
We only glitch it onto 2 characters because it would only be possible for us to glitch it onto 3 of the characters, I think.
Yeah, you can glitch it onto a 3rd character, but you'd have to do a formation change, and we just feel like it's not worth it to all the menuing time it would take to do the formation change and perform the glitch versus how much time we save from having 1 extra character having the ability to run a little better.
And if you happen to formation change here, you would have to necessitate another formation change later for yet another glitching that we do. So
right, yeah. The next major glitch, we need the ninja to be next to the white mage. So that would be 3. Right now, we already did the 1 formation change when doing the barbarian sword menu, and if you did it there, then you'd have to glitch back, so that would be 3 formation changes, and those each take a couple of seconds.
So we just saw the runners pass each other and give each other a high five on the way.
Yep.
We got Shinbreaker is now heading towards the ice cave. He's got to just carefully navigate this little canoe section here. It's not particularly difficult, and it's not that hard. Getting lost is probably pretty common here the first couple times in the game, but you run this. But after that, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, once you know it, it's easy. And the encounter rate is less on on the rivers than it is on like land, but it's not. I think it's a little more more encounters than on like the ocean. So
Xelnas seems to have forgotten the ethers. That could prove problematic later on unless he remembers. But we'll have to see what happens. That's
that
gonna.
will be very problematic.
Maybe if he's paying attention, maybe he'll pick up on what's going on. But that would be a horrible mistake to make.
Yeah, well, he hasn't done the. He's just doing the menuing or the glitching now. This is an unusual formation change.
Oh, is he doing the 3 or is he doing it 2?
No, he's flipped the thief and oh wow.
Okay.
Not sure. This is new to me.
Alright, so he's put it on 2 characters so far. Did he put it on a third one? I didn't see if he put it on there.
I'm not quite sure what he did, but he flipped around the warrior and the thief, which
looks like he did it on 2 characters, but he did it in a very roundabout way.
Well, I really hope he didn't forget those ethers, but it sounds like
I didn't see him pick it up, unfortunately, which that might cause him problems. There are other towns he can pick it up in, and he doesn't strictly need it right now.
yeah, he won't. You don't really use the ethers for the first time until Mount Gulg, so he'll probably figure it out then. But he's got enough potions; he'll be able to survive that. But he'll probably have to make another stop.
Meanwhile, we have Shinbreaker in probably the worst dungeon in the game in terms of killing runs. The ice cave is full of all sorts of very unfriendly encounters that can set you back or otherwise just really waste a lot of time for you. But yeah, he's making pretty good progress of it so far.
Yeah, he barely got any encounters. But there are, like Forsyth was saying, just lots of encounters that can do all sorts of horrible things to you. Many instant kills and things like that. So, but right now, though, he's on the Evil Eye, which is guarding the Levitstone here, which is the item we need to get the airship. And what he's doing is, you'll notice he's allowing, well, okay.
Well, Black Mage's gonna die, but
yeah.
Oh, that could be bad. That could be bad. Oh, we got away with it.
He did, yeah. I think I'm a couple seconds ahead of you, by the way, but he wanted the warrior and thief to die, so that the experience from the Evil Eye, which the Evil Eye actually gives a lot of experience, will go solely to the mages, so that they can level up faster and they can get up to level 19, which is where they need to be to get the spells they need for the rest of the game.
This is refresh. I can probably do that. Let me see.
All right, so on Xelnas' side, he had all his characters turned, or his warrior and thief turned to stone, but he chose to unstone them, which is probably a good thing. You need those characters to run from. This is the very beginning of the ice cave. If it happened closer to the Evil Eye, he probably would have left them stoned, because stone characters don't gain experience either. Yeah, sorry about those Franker Z's.
Let's see him, chat. Let's go. That's right. Xelnas seeing dark wizards, but luckily for him it was in a preemptive formation so he can run away. They can be a particularly dangerous formation if you happen to get ambushed or if you just fail to run away.
Xelnas gets the 1 in 64 white dragons. And he gets them. He kills them. Those white dragons can use Ice Storm on you and just completely, at this level, would just completely wipe you. And oh no, Xelnas falls down. Or is that where he was supposed to fall down? I thought he was okay. I thought he was over by Evil Eye and went the wrong way. Okay.
It's another very common mistake for newer runners of this game. the way to navigate between floors on this is you have to run over a tile that breaks underneath you and drops you down to another floor. And if you happen to do that without grabbing the levistone that we came here for, it's going to cost you a bunch of time circling back around to go grab it again.
Yep. Oh, Xelnas having some problems here. He's got 2 characters stoned and 1 asleep. But the white mage pulls through, gets off the judgment staff.
Did his stoned character just take damage? Or was that while it was getting stoned?
I'm not sure. I didn't see that. But it looks like both runners getting trolled here by encounters. There's Pisco demons, which aren't much of a threat, but they have to be killed. They're unrunnable. I saw Shinbreaker also get dark wizards as well, but fortunately a preemptive. So we've pretty much seen the worst of what you can see in the ice cave here.
Everything except for like a dark wizard ambush. That's about the only thing that we haven't really seen.
Yeah, we didn't see the ambush, but we saw them. And that Thundara taking out the black mage, black mage for Xelnas as well. So
he chose to keep the warrior stoned as we're trying to keep the warrior and the thief from gaining experience during this little section while we grind up their levels for the mages.
Yeah, the Evil Eye will use Thundara as his first spell. And so we try and keep our warrior and thief below 70 HP and our mages above 70 HP so that the Thundara will kill them and not the mages. But sometimes it doesn't always work out the way you want. And Evil Eye can use other moves like Hold and Gaze and possibly kill off your characters one by one instead of with Thundara.
Xelnas' black mage is struggling for HP right now.
Yeah, they both are, to be honest. I think Shinbreakers is only at 147. He's at level 18. So Shinbreaker's picking up the airship now. That levistone that the Evil Eye was guarding is what allows the airship to come out of the desert here. So once you have the airship, you're good. There's no more riding the boat and getting those horrible boat encounters. But one thing that they did do with the airship is they usually made the landing spots. You can only land on the grass. You can't land on forest or desert or other types of tiles. So in order to make it so you couldn't just fly directly where you want to go, they made it so that the landing spots were far away. So you'll see Shinbreakers. He's headed to Citadel now, but he's going to have to walk quite a ways to get there. And he's walking on this desert right now, which this desert has a pretty unique encounter called a sandworm. The sandworm has the ability, especially if he ambushes you, to use Earthquake, which is an instant death move that affects all characters. So there's a chance he can ambush you, use Earthquake, and kill all 4 characters at once. So again, that's a good place to save during a race.
I must say, it was the first time Sandworm actually killed me the other day for the first time. I've been running this for about a year now, and I've never had that happen to me.
It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. It's happened to me once or twice.
I also had a run the other day where he used it 3 times in a row, and my white mage managed to survive it.
Yeah. Sometimes just weird stuff like that does happen. On Xelnas' side, he just ran into some Mind Flayers. We didn't talk about those wonderful, wonderful enemies. The Mind Flayer has a move he can use that will potentially paralyze all 4 characters at once. And if that's not good enough, he also has just a physical attack which has instant death attached to it. So he can just kill your characters one at a time with physicals. If you get an ambush from them, you really have to start praying that those moves aren't going to land.
We got Shinbreaker now in the Citadel of Trials. We might actually see Mind Flayers there if he gets unfortunate enough.
Yeah.
But it starts as a giant maze that you have to just teleport between sections of the area before you finally just reach a staircase that will take you around the final floor. But we're here to pick up the fabled rat's tail, the item that proves our courage to Bahamut.
Yeah, and on the way, we're going to pick up a couple of nice items. We got the healing staff there. Oh, it's like a Shinbreaker with the rare dragon zombie encounter. It's a 1 in 64 to appear on normal tiles in the Citadel. And we're also going to pick up the gauntlets. Both of these items we can use to glitch into some really great equipment for our white mage at the end of the game. And then on the last tile here before the little chair or the throne that will take us back to the beginning, there's always 1 or 2 dragon zombies on that tile, guaranteed. But encountering them naturally is pretty rare in here. So I think that was a pretty good Citadel for Shinbreaker.
So Shinbreaker's character should be high enough level now to be able to, for us to go grab the class change, and then our character should be high enough level to grab the magic spells that we intend to get.
Yeah, I guess we didn't talk about that. Yeah, during the grind, when they were grinding on killing all those evil eyes, they got up to level 18 plus 1 extra evil eye, which gets them to about 18 and a half. And that means the encounters from the Citadel will get our characters to 19, which is what they need for those magic spells.
See, a sandworm for Shinbreaker gets lucky and escapes it.
Yeah.
Xelnas is looking for the landing spot. Looks like he found it. Now he's got to walk back over to the Citadel. Basilisk, that's a pretty rare encounter.
Oh boy. These runners they're playing with fire. We just had Xelnas trying to run from a sandworm and failing 2 times, but fortunately gets away on the 3rd character's attempt. Personally, if I got a sandworm encounter, I would just attack it and kill it.
I don't know. I usually don't see it often enough or have enough trouble running from it to really ever consider killing it until recently.
Yeah, it's just safer to just kill it.
So Shinbreaker has now presented the tail and class changed up.
Yeah, so with the class change, obviously the mages get access to more spells, and all the characters, their stat growth will increase, so they'll be stronger. Shinbreaker trying to find Melmond here. He finds it. He's going to go in and get his spells. So at the White Mage shop, he's going to get Healara, which is the only healing spell we'll need for the game. And in the Black Mage shop, he's going to get Teleport, which lets you go up or back 1 floor in any dungeon.
Xelnas is getting a handful of unrunnables here in the Citadel of Trials.
Yeah, those Minotaur zombies, no matter what, you cannot run from Minotaur zombies. So that's going to be the difference. Like we mentioned, RNG. It's like Xelnas got those Minotaur zombies. And wow, he gets another one versus Shinbreaker, who got lucky and didn't really get any unrunnable encounters in Citadel.
Yeah, it's a pretty unfortunate. This is already, the 3rd, I think, unrunnable encounter of Minotaur zombies here that he's encountered. And they can waste a lot of time, unfortunately. They're not particularly dangerous to us, but they just waste time.
Yeah. So So Shinbreaker here has entered Mount Gold. You'll notice he's walking on the lava tiles, which does damage you 1 hit point every time you take a step. So you might be asking, why is he doing that? The reason is you also can't get encounters on the lava tiles. So by walking on them, we can get to the end of the dungeon with very few encounters. It's not unusual to get 1 or 2 encounters for the entire dungeon. You can get 0. It's happened to me a number of times. Just by walking on those tiles. But you do have to be careful because you can get down really low HP, and then if you get an ambush with an enemy that can use a fire spell, they could wipe you. So about halfway through, most runners will usually go ahead and just heal back up and then make their way to Marilith, the final boss, and do away with her.
So Shinbreaker's just melting himself to try to save encounters.
Yeah, but did he have any encounters, or was there one maybe?
I think he had one early,
and
he healed somewhere.
That's an excellent Mount Gold for him. I don't have his stream up completely, but I have to imagine he's on PB pace.
I have it up. He's actually 2 minutes ahead of his pace after.
Yeah.
2 minutes ahead. He's on pretty good pace right now for him. So he's doing pretty good so far. Meanwhile, Xelnas is struggling with encounters right now as he works his way back to the ship.
Yeah, and that just sort of proves our point of these runners had PBs 7 seconds apart, and you see a pretty big gap here, and it's just RNG is most of it. I mean, I'm sure that there have been a few execution mistakes, but the greater part of it is definitely RNG.
I mean, it's wide enough that Shinbreaker at this point should be comfortably ahead, and so long as he is careful with saving or safety saving at certain locations, he should be able to preserve his lead.
Yeah, should be, but you never do know. I mean, you get
the final boss can change things up.
Yeah, the final boss can. Just even the Chaos Shrine itself, if you get lots of bad encounters, you can lose a lot of time there. So it's not over by any means, but we're just seeing how 2/3 of the way through the game, 2 runners of equal ability can be this far apart through no fault of their own. So after beating Mount Gold, we now see Shinbreaker. He's going to this desert caravan where he buys the fairy bottle, and then he also is going to get some Giant's tonics, which he may want to use on the final boss. But this is where you can get them, so we pick them up right here. So he's going to take this fairy bottle, go to the town of Gaia here, release the fairy from the bottle, and the fairy, he has to go and find it. The fairy is sort of deep in the woods here in the town, so he's going to go run over to that. Fairy will give you the Oxyale item, which allows you to breathe underwater, which allows to get in the sunken shrine and face the third of the fiends, which is Kraken.
Xelnas is picking up the spells now. He's making his way. This is a very good time for them to do that in the route, so we go ahead and typically do that here. I don't know if he picked up Ethers yet or not, though.
Yeah, good question. Like I was saying, Mount Gold is typically the first time I use an Ether, so he may notice it pretty soon if he didn't.
I mean, he may or may not have enough potions to be able to cover for himself for healing through this area.
Yeah,
as soon as he realizes it, he can correct it.
Yeah, he'll be fine, for Mount Gold, but if he looks for them, doesn't find them, then hopefully he'll head back to Crescent Lake. It's not too far from Mount Gold.
I'm not sure. They may be available in Gaia to purchase.
They are, but actually Crescent Lake is even closer. Although he's going to Gaia anyway, so.
And Gaia's along the way.
Yeah. But I don't know if he knows that, since we typically don't buy Ethers there. So, so Shinbreaker's in the town of Onrak now, and he's going to get in this barrel, which takes him down to the sunken shrine.
Now that he's gotten the oxyel item, he can now breathe underwater. So now we can take the barrel down there to the sunken shrine.
Yeah, and I think Xelnas just had his moment where he realized he doesn't have ethers.
He doesn't have ethers. That's going to hurt. So he's got potions though, so that'll at least save him for the time being.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate mistake.
So here we are in the Chaos Shrine. So Chaos Shrine, Sunken Shrine. Shinbreaker here has got the Sahagan Prince, Sahagan Chief encounter, which is completely unrunnable. There's 9 enemies, so you're going to use the Judgment Staff every time to kill them with the mages. There's a number of unrunnable encounters in the Chaos Shrine. There's ghosts, which are unrunnable, and water elementals. So this is kind of a big make or break point for RNG. Is if you can get these sharks and other types of encounters that you can run from, then you're doing good. So he's on this floor, which you'll notice he's not getting any encounters. There are no encounters on this floor, the floor with the mermaids. And he's going to pick up the Rosetta Stone, which is a key item that we're going to need to progress in the game. But then you'll notice now that he's got it, he's going to have the Black Mage use Teleport twice, which will take him back to the 4th floor, and then the second time back to the 3rd floor, and then he's pretty much right back where he started, and then he can progress down in the dungeon, which is where the Kraken lives.
Yeah, there's 2 objectives here in the Water Shrine, because we have to pick up the Rosetta Stone in order to progress further in the story. It's an item that we don't need in this dungeon specifically, but we will need it for the last dungeon before we head to the final dungeon of the game. And then we have to head to Kraken, and they're actually in opposite directions, so we detour first to pick up the Rosetta Stone, and then we quickly warp ourselves back towards the start, and then start heading in the other direction for Kraken.
Yes. Shinbreaker here is having an excellent Sunken Shrine. He's not getting many encounters. He only had that one that was unrunnable. So he's doing very well. So now you'll notice him going into this chest to get the light axe. And this is where we do the final big menu of the game. There's one smaller one we'll have later, but essentially he's going to replace those black garbs with survival vests, which are even better at running than the black garbs, and he can get them on everybody. However, even though he can get them on everybody, you'll notice here he's going to give the White Wizard 2 Lordly Robes. So those Lordly Robes will greatly increase her intelligence, which means that all her spells will, the Judgment Staff as well as her healing spells will do more, higher numbers, basically. And the reason why we don't put the Lordly Robes on the middle armor slot, which is the body slot, is because the Lordly Robes have a regen effect, which means that if you get to the end of any round, the White Wizard would regain health, but that animation takes a few seconds, and that adds up a lot over the course of the run. So we only give her 2 Lordly Robes.
We also specifically don't put it on the armor slot because it includes a regeneration effect that would play in combat if it happens to be equipped on the body slot, but we don't put it on the body slot. We put it on the other 2 slots that we would normally glitch armor onto. And the animation would play at the end of every combat round and slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, Shinbreaker, had an amazing menu there. I have to imagine he's going to have a really nice Kraken split here.
That's a gold for him on that split.
Yeah, I'm totally not surprised. I didn't want to call it out, but I figured, because I don't know his splits, in great detail, but I figured that would probably be a gold for me. So
he's 4 minutes ahead of his PB right now.
That's great.
after Kraken. So this could easily be a sub 130 run right now, which is
Yeah.
fantastic for a race.
Oh yeah.
I mean, most runners have a target time probably about 130. I mean, depending on the skill of the runner at this point. I mean, for those that are under 130, they probably want 130 or better in a race setting.
Yeah. 130 or better is gonna get you a win most of the time. Actually, I think for me, like I want to get a 132. If I get worse than that, then I'm kind of unhappy. But which I did do worse than that in my first match, but I still managed to win, fortunately. But yeah, 132 is about what you can expect your opponent will get. So you definitely want to get that or better.
I mean, if he's 4 minutes ahead, that puts him on like a 128 pace, which would almost crack him into the top 10 on the speedrun.com leaderboard.
Yeah.
So this would be a fantastic run. We'll see if his luck holds out.
Yeah. So now he's in the waterfall cave, and unfortunately, the waterfall cave is a very high encounter rate area. You're going to just get tons of encounters. So what you're looking for actually those clay golems are a good one. They're easy to run from, but if he gets the nightmares, which he just got, those are more difficult to run from. Now that we have the survival vests on everybody, it's worth it to run from them. But you can see, just like just happened, he failed to run from them on a full turn.
Xelnas is in the Sunken Shrine now, and unfortunately ran into a Sahagan Prince, Sahagan Chief encounter. One of the 3 unrunnable encounters in there. So he's forced to staff the group. They always come in packs of 9 as well. There's never fewer than 9 in those encounters.
Yeah.
So they can be a big time loss depending on how many of them can attack before you get a chance to use your staff.
Yeah, so the reason why we're in the waterfall cave is because we need an item called the warp cube, which is held by a robot that's sort of at the end of the waterfall cave here. So we need that key item. But while we're at it, we're going to pick up another nice item and glitch it on to our characters, which just happens to be right next to the robot there.
The final crystal is at the end of a 2-part dungeon area, and you need an item to enter both parts of the dungeon. You need the warp cube to get to the second part of the dungeon, and we need an item called the chime to enter the place in the first place. So we're picking up the warp cube here in the waterfall cavern, and then after we're out of here, we're going to go pick up the chime in order to be able to do the whole dungeon in one go.
Yeah, so that Rosetta Stone that we picked up in the Sunken Shrine will be key for us to get that chime, which we'll see that happen right after we get out of Waterfall Cave here. So right when you enter this room with the robot, that tile right in front of the door always has cockatrices and pyrolisks in it. So they're usually easy to run from, but if you get an ambush, it can be kind of bad because it takes a while.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about it, but there's a number of encounters or a number of tiles that are spread throughout the various dungeons, which force an encounter when you step on them.
Yeah, and we call those spike tiles. So now here's another menu here. We picked up a ribbon, which is a great item. It prevents status effects on your character, but it's only one. We really wanted all 4. So what we do with this menu is actually we glitch the ribbon onto the warrior as a gigantaxe, which is a weapon, and then we take that gigantaxe and turn it into 4 ribbons. So now all of our characters have ribbons, and as we mentioned before, this is the one where we can actually put the ribbon on the shield slot. And fortunately, the ID of the ribbon also calls up a valid animation. So that way, if we block an attack, we won't crash the game, basically. So it works out very handy for us.
So now that we have the ribbon, we're largely immune to status attacks, and we're only really vulnerable at this point to attacks that do a lot of damage to our whole party directly.
Yeah. So now Shinbreaker has gone to Melmon to talk to Dr. Una. We show him the Rosetta Stone. He's like, "Oh, great! I can teach you Lufenian, which is a language, spoken by the people in the town of Lufenia. And without learning that language, we're unable to get the chime from them. But now that we know it, we can talk to the guy who has the chime, and he'll give us that item which we need to enter the Mirage Tower." So here, Shinbreaker is, unfortunately, the landing spot for Lufenia is really far away. And also, doubly unfortunately, there's a lot of unrunnable Minotaur zombie encounters on the way there. So he just runs into a pack of 4 here, and who knows how many more he'll run into on the way down there.
Xelnas is on the final floor of the Sunken Shrine, just making his way around to get to Kraken.
Yeah, so another pack of Minotaur zombies here, but he's almost to Lufenia. Lufenia is the town with very narrow passageways and lots of NPCs that just love to block your way. So let's see if he gets lucky and doesn't get blocked here. Well, there's one block. So you see, you have to push up against these guys. Oh no, he just gets blocked at the last second there by this other guy. But he made it. He talked to this guy over here, and now we have the chime. So now we have pretty much all the items we need to finish the game, except for the final crystal, which is in the Flying Fortress, which we access through the Mirage Tower, which we're headed to right now.
Cracking down on Xelnas' side, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, Kraken isn't much of a threat. You shouldn't lose to him. So we just saw on Shinbreaker's side, he encountered some winter wolves, and if those winter wolves appear by themselves without the ice gigas, then you can run away from them. But it's kind of risky because those winter wolves can use Ice Storm on you, which at this point it's not particularly harmful or threatening, but it just takes a long time for that animation, especially if you get like 4 or 5 of them using it in one turn. So Xelnas is in the waterfall cave as well, not too far behind. The Mirage Tower is another one of those high encounter dungeons, especially this second floor. You're just going to get probably close to a dozen, if not more, encounters on the average run. So we'll just be hoping for good non-ambushes and get as little as possible.
While they're in different dungeons, they're in probably both some of the highest encounter area game dungeons in the game right now. This particular floor of the Mirage Tower and the Waterfall Cavern have some of the highest encounter rates. So it's just It can be a very, very frustrating game because it can disrupt your rhythm when you're getting an attack every 10 steps.
Yeah, and sometimes it can really disorient you as to where you are on the map. So that's also, you have to take into account the time it takes you to reorient yourself, even if it's a second or two. That's just a second or two wasted. So this is Shinbreaker's fighting this blue dragon here. That's one of those spike tiles we were talking about. You will always get a single blue dragon on that tile. So fortunately, one hit from the barbarian sword will defeat the blue dragon. So now that he steps on the teleporter, and now he's in the flying fortress, which is where Tiamat is.
Well, if we're lucky, we might be seeing a Warmech very, very soon.
Yeah, flying fortress is where the Warmech can appear. He only appears on the very top floor of the fortress, the same floor as Tiamat, and it's a short floor, and it's a rare encounter. So seeing Warmech is pretty rare, but it's a pretty interesting, exciting moment if you ever do see one.
I happened to see one last night for the first time. I was very excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only encountered one myself, and actually it was kind of funny. It happened after Tiamat. There's that brief short walk where you walk behind, where the boss was and walk to the teleporter, and I got one while walking between there, so it's a little unexpected. These air elementals are one of the few elementals that are runnable. See, Shinbreaker's trying to run from them, but oh, there he goes.
We got Xelnas on the, he's glitching the ribbons onto all four of his characters now that he's at the end of Waterfall Cave. I don't think a formation change is necessary, but maybe he's doing it a little different.
It should not be necessary, no, but whatever works for you, I guess.
There's no wrong way to do anything in this game. It's just a matter of how much time things can take.
Yeah. Oh, no Warmech for Shinbreaker, but he's going to fight Tiamat here. Now, Tiamat can use this Thunderbolt spell, which might kill the Black Mage. Okay, he barely survived.
I can see why that would be a problem.
Oh, his R button is broken. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that might necessitate some creative menuing to work
yeah,
around.
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I would know what I would do if my R button was broken. So he's doing a very good job of thinking of this on the fly. If he can only do L glitches instead of R's.
It's unfortunately going to cost him a bunch of time, but I mean, so long as he keeps powering on, that's all he can do at this point.
Yeah, things happen even during races, so good on him for keeping going and figuring out how he's going to do everything that he needs to do.
Yeah, I probably would have reset out of frustration.
Yeah.
Can't do that in a race, though.
Exactly. Sure what... okay. He's looking at the ethers. All right, so that's Flying Fortress down. I mean, Shinbreaker is still on pace for potentially, if he has a really good Chaos Shrine, a 130.
It looks like he lost about a minute on that split, but he's still nearly 3 minutes ahead.
Yeah. Oh, Xelnas trying to run from the Minotaur zombies. Actually, that's a good question. If his button is broken, how is he fleeing from all these encounters?
Good question, actually.
I mean, you can select
true.
flee from the menu, but he's not doing that. So He says he'll explain everything in the interview. So anyway, so Shinbreaker is here at the final dungeon, which looks a lot like the very first dungeon. And that is the access point to the final dungeon, which actually takes you 2,000 years in the past to defeat Garland, who is Chaos, before he can send the elemental fiends forward into the future. So your job is to break this time loop so that he can't do that and save the world. So it's a little confusing, but that's what that is. So, like I said, we're in the final dungeon now for Shinbreaker.
We see him taking a safety save here. There's a number of potential enemies that can derail him here, most notably white dragons, if they happen to ambush and cast their Ice Storm move en masse. That can do a lot of damage to the party and potentially wipe us.
Yeah, you can run from white dragons. It's a little risky, just in case you don't, because of that move. And oh, here we've got poison gas from the green dragon, which is also a bad move. But fortunately, only used one of those. And then here's another spike tile with a Death Eye enemy, which is similar to Evil Eye, except supposedly stronger, but he still goes down in one hit from the Barbarian Sword. And so a good indicator of your final time is Death Eye. Usually you take Death Eye and it's about 10 minutes later when you'll finish the game. So, Shinbreaker on pace for a 131, and if it goes really well, possibly lower. Unfortunately, getting this Ice Gigas Winterwolf battle, which is probably the worst encounter, because the only way to kill them all is to have the White Wizard use the Judgment Staff in this situation. If the Black Wizard did, it would kill the wolves, but not the Ice Gigases. So you have to set that up, and unfortunately, your White Wizard is usually the slowest of your characters as well. So they can get a lot of turns off before she goes and uses that Judgment Staff.
That's largely due to the equipment choices when we glitched the Lordly Robes on her. The Survival Vest adds agility, which increases the speed in combat. But the Lordly Robes that we put on her increase her intelligence, but tend to slow her down in terms of her turn order in combat. So many enemies and most of the party will go before her on most combat rounds.
Yeah. So that's why we just sort of pray that we don't get the Ice Gigas Winterwolf on that floor, but if it happens, that's the way to handle it, is just have her use Judgment Staff.
And she has enough intelligence to take out that entire encounter in one go. If we were to use the Black Mage, there's no guarantee that the Gigases themselves would die.
Yeah, some people like to have the Warrior and Thief attack the Gigases and have the mages use the Judgment Staff, but that just takes too much time, in my opinion. So these Earth Elementals are unrunnable, unfortunately. So anytime those show up for him, he's going to have to kill them.
Xelnas is now on the final floor of the Mirage Tower, and they'll be heading to the Flying Fortress. And if we're really lucky, might still have a chance for Warmech.
Yep, we've still got a chance for Warmech. So, okay, well, Shinbreaker just went into Lich 2 without saving. That's very risky. He can use Flare, but gets lucky and kills him before he can do anything. I don't know. For me, Lich 2 is my personal nemesis. He always uses Flare on me. Even if I'm strong enough to survive it, it wastes a good 10 to 15 seconds for the animation. So,
on top of you have to heal and revive your characters afterwards.
Yeah, it's a big time loss if he uses it, even if you survive it. And if your characters are too low level or the rolls are unfortunate, you can white to that. So
He looked like he had enough to be able to, at least his warrior would survive it, probably.
yeah. Oh, wow. Look at those HP on the ninja. 340. I don't think I've ever seen that many on my ninja. And he's not even done yet. That's crazy.
That's a very, very low total on the Black Mage, though, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, his Black Mage total 55 is very low, but he will not need to use a Giant's Tonic on the ninja.
I think I saw him get a level there.
Yeah.
On the Black Mage, which the more HP that the Black Mage can level up, then the better off he'll be.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like he did. It looks like that may have been for a different character.
No encounters for Xelnas on that final floor so far, so unfortunately we might not be seeing Warmech today, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He has already made an appearance in one of the tournament matches this year, which is pretty hype, because it's just not a very, very common occurrence at all.
Yeah, Shinbreaker getting some unfortunate ambushes here on Kraken's floor. I mean, he's fortunate in that they're not runnable encounters, but still, getting 7 enemies that have to go before you get a chance to run is bad.
Yeah, it's one thing we haven't talked about in this one, Marinda. The spell system has been changed in this game. It doesn't use the charges that the original version had. It's been rebalanced to use an MP system that's more similar to later games.
Yeah, so those are the magic points, and you pretty much only have to worry about that for the White Wizard for using Hilara. You need a little bit of magic for the Black Mage to use teleport and haste, but overall, a couple of ethers, and that's all he needs for the entire game.
The spells themselves still have levels, and they still work the same as they did before. You can only have 3 spells per level per character. You can obviously drop spells and pick up new spells. I'm not sure if that's necessarily in the original version of the game, but there's no charges in this one. It just uses MP, and everything is a fixed MP cost.
Yeah, so Shinbreaker is on this Tiamat 2 here, and he's using haste on that ninja. The haste spell allows you to basically get double the hits in, which basically doubles your damage. So he does that so that he should be able to pretty much guarantee a kill in the second round against Tiamat. And yeah, Tiamat goes down in 2 rounds. If you don't haste, then there's a good possibility that it'll go to 3 rounds.
Shinbreaker is about 30 seconds ahead after the refights.
Wow. Well, a good chaos and he'll have a PB.
Yeah, he could still possibly PB on this one right now.
Yep. So here we go. Final menu of the game. He's going to heal all his characters, make sure they're all ethered up, and then he's going to use the equipment glitch to get the golden staff on the White Wizard, which will give her higher intelligence, which makes the heals do enough. And then he's going to remove the survival vest and put on the clothes. And this practically guarantees that the White Mage the White Wizard will always go last after Chaos, which you want so that she can heal after he's done his damage. So we're getting here into this final fight against Chaos, and Chaos has a number of moves. He can do physical attacks, he can do some magic, he has some skill type of moves, and you want to see physical attacks, and you don't want to see crits, obviously, because a critical attack can kill one of your characters. So the White Wizard is always going to use Hilara. The Black Wizard is going to use haste on all the characters, including himself, so that they can basically deal double the damage. And you'll notice that in the first round, the Warrior used a Giant's Tonic on the Black wizard. That's to give him an extra 200 hit points. So now he's got enough hit points to pretty much survive any individual attack. Although, if Chaos wants to be really nasty, he can put several skill attacks back to back and still could potentially kill one of the characters. So
Shinbreaker got over the initial hurdle of his low health on the Black Mage. Chaos managed to avoid hitting the Black Mage in that opening round or using one of his area attacks, his attacks that hit the whole party. If he had done that before White Mage had managed to heal, it may have necessitated a reset.
Yeah.
To do this fight. So he was looking like he's in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, although he's getting some bad attacks here. We just saw Tsunami, which is, attack that does a lot of damage and it takes a long time, a long animation. So you want to see those physical attacks because they're really quick. And he moves right into Cyclone, which is even worse. So that's just going to waste 10 seconds while we watch this tornado make everyone fly across the screen. Fortunately, everyone survives.
Yeah, if someone happens to die during one of those attacks, it can prove problematic and waste a lot of time in this fight, unfortunately, trying to...
Oh, Ninja survives with 5 HP. It's coming down to it, but I think he's got it here. Just a couple more attacks and he'll be down. That's it. GG to Shinbreaker, 131. That's a new PB for him.
Yeah, he saved 30 seconds on Chaos.
Yeah, so that's
PBs. That's a new PB for Shinbreaker.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. All right, so on to Xelnas here. He's on Lich's floor. He's gonna. Well, let's look at his HP. Okay, so his ninja has 293. Typically, you like your ninja to be over 280, so he's looking to be in pretty good shape right here. He also, wow, he went into Lich 2 and did not heal or save.
That's very dangerous with his health total right now.
It works out for him, though. He kills him. That was a very dangerous move.
It's advised to do usually at least one or the other, either heal or save, just in case Lich happens to use Flare.
Now we're on to Marilith's floor. Marilith's floor is a pretty short floor. It's not completely uncommon to get no encounters on it, but Xelnas gets 1 encounter, which is very good as well. Still not healing his characters.
He's probably okay from a potential Faraga. That's the one attack that Marilith will potentially use here. But
that's one thing we didn't say is that the ribbon actually protects you, gives you halves elemental damage. So attacks like Blizzaga or Furaga will do half as much damage as they would have. But Lich's Flare is not considered an elemental attack, so that'll do full damage on you.
Xelnas getting an uneven number of water elementals, so he's forced to staff that group if he wants to finish the battle in one round.
Yeah.
I mean, he could also opt to attack, but I mean, I think more or less with the 3 or more enemies, I think it's about even in terms of choosing to attack versus using the staff animation.
Oh yeah, well if you have 5, like in this encounter, you definitely want to use the Judgment Staff because you can't kill them all in one round with attacks. So And actually 4 is actually even quicker just to use the Judgment Staff.
That's right, new category. R only. Better make it Japanese just to make it really unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means, give these followers or give these runners a follow.
Yeah, definitely.
If you guys haven't already done that.
Yeah, and give Forsyth a follow here. You're what? Are you 4th place right now?
I think I've been bumped down to 5th place.
Yeah. Still, he's really good runner as well. Got an excellent time.
And you should absolutely be following Sigma, who was prior to not long ago being the world record holder of this category before he got bopped by Double Drop.
Yeah.
But he's now only about 30 seconds off the current world record.
Yeah, 25 seconds.
Currently sitting second place on the leaderboard, so.
Yeah.
Xelnas working through Tiamat, and no problem.
Got him, so now we're on to Chaos for Xelnas. Oh, there we go. It's only got one Lordly robe. Okay, it looks like he's making the other Lordly robe right now. Forget to ether. Okay. Didn't save before Chaos, or did he save earlier in the room?
No, I did not. I didn't see him save before Chaos, so if he did it earlier in the room.
Well, I'm sure PB's gone for him, so. But you don't want to forfeit. That's the thing. In this tournament, if you forfeit, it counts as a 10-hour time. So if it comes down to a tiebreaker on who's the faster time, you're going to lose. So.
I think you lose tiebreakers automatically if you have a forfeit.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
With
a 10-hour time, that'll do it for you. So. Hopefully that won't happen. Oh. So the Black Mage goes down. See if he's going to try and revive him. He is going to try and revive him.
Yeah, it's an early unfortunate death. And the Black Mage is kind of important to setting up the damage we need to be able to kill Chaos in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, see, this just becomes difficult because then you Phoenix down him and then he uses Blaze, and now the Black Mage is dead again.
Yeah, so at this point, Xelnas is looking to get a combat round where Chaos does not target the Black Mage, so that he can try to get him up and get him a little healed before any potential damaging attacks.
Here comes Tsunami. In addition, I mean, a physical attack on another character, or if Chaos were to go before the Warrior, use the Phoenix down, then you'd be able to recover. But so far, he's only being able to attack one time with the ninja per round. And he just goes into Cyclone here. This is not looking good. This could kill the ninja. Cyclone's a pretty powerful attack. Yeah. Well, Earthquake is good, fortunate. Earthquake's a free move. It's an instant death, but you're protected from it by ribbon. So the problem that he's going to have now is he's going to run out of MP on his white wizard for healing.
So he's got the black mage back up. We'll see what happens now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Healar costs 25 MP to cast, so he's got, I think, about 5 rounds left before he would run out of MP with the white mage.
Yeah. You can counteract that by having one of your characters use an ether, but then they're not able to attack that round. So
at this point, he's probably got no choice, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If he wants to finish, he's going to have to do that. Chaos uses Blizzaga, which he just can't seem to get all his characters back up. Xelnas pretty upset there in the chat. Oh my goodness!
I hope he's got enough Phoenix Downs.
Yeah. I usually only buy 11, so
that might be okay. He's got Tsunami now.
All right, yeah. So now he's going to have all his characters back. The problem is only one of them is hasted, and he can only use Hilara 2 more times. Yeah, he's using an ether. That's the right move. To have the warrior ether the white mage. Okay, he physicals the ninja, so everybody's still alive. So we're in better shape than we were.
I think Kiraja is probably inevitable at this point. He's just gonna, he just needs his party in a relatively healthy state so that he can focus on attacking and getting him down.
Yeah. All right, he uses Cyclone again, but everybody should be good. I don't think this will kill the ninja.
It's going to be close.
Yeah. Oh, now it does kill him. Okay. Chaos physicaled again, so the ninja can come back, but every time he dies, he loses his haste, so he's going to have to rehaste.
Yeah. At the beck and asks how much HP does Chaos have? Chaos has 20,000 HP, and Chaos has a healing move that can heal for 99.99. He has not used it yet that I've seen.
No, he hasn't used Kiraja yet, but there's Slowra, but he uses it on the ninja, which is bad because now he's going to have to use haste twice if he wants to get that ninja fully all the way up.
Well, everyone's back to full health.
Yeah, everyone's at full health, but that ninja is slowed.
Ninja slowed.
And that's it. He takes him down, finally. There
it is.
Well, good job to Xelnas for managing that. Most people, if I had saved, I would have just reset after all that. But I think he realized since he didn't, he had to find a way to make it work, and he did it, which kudos to him.
Indeed, that was a pretty brutal chaos.
Yeah. So I guess Shinbreaker and Xelnas, if they want to get in here for a little commentary or interview. Hello.
Hey.
Nice recovery.
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, I want to say
it's a Shinbreaker.
The L button doesn't matter. Like, the L button lost me maybe a minute. Like, those weird menus, maybe a minute. That was by far the worst encounter luck I've ever had in this game by a significant degree.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
3 water elementals in a row, 3 Minotaur zombies in a row in Citadel.
Yeah.
I had, for the most part, really good encounter luck. That absolutely is not a reflection on your ability in the game. I had really good encounter luck. You had really bad. My execution actually wasn't that great. I had some real trouble with some of the early menus and stuff, but I just got lucky on some of the encounters, especially my grind fight and Kraken splits went really well. I lost a lot on my Chaos Shrine, but my gold on that one was like over a 2-minute gold off my previous one, so I expected to lose a lot there. So
yeah. And then Chaos was like, nah, stills. Only stills for you. That's why I knew he wasn't gonna heal Aura, because he was on his 3rd still and only his 2nd spell when somebody said that in chat. Or Kiraja, because like he wasn't anywhere near cycle into that.
Yeah, I really was not expecting you to pull off that battle. I thought you were going to get wiped. I was really amazed you managed to pull through that. I probably would have reset when my ninja was also dead. That's when I would have just reset and started over. But I think it's awesome that you stuck through it and finished. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to do.
Xelnas did not save before Chaos.
Nah, I was like, screw it. There's no reason to save at this point.
I didn't know that.
That was my look on things. I was like, nah, it doesn't matter. I'll either die here and it doesn't matter, or I don't die here and I saved the 10 seconds. So yeah, my newest controller that's only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months old, just the B button while I was mashing an FF10 today just stuck and that's the confirm button in the PC version. So that controller's out. So I had to pull out my old controller, which never really fully broke. It just has a really sticky LB button from, I want to say, Mega Man X. I want to say I broke it while playing Mega Man X.
Yeah, I had trouble with that with an Xbox 360 controller that I used on the PC. Had a bad left bumper, so when I first started running the game, I actually used the triggers, and they were so spongy, it made the glitch really hard.
Well, on top of that, like this controller is from, I bought it in the first year that the Xbox 360 came out. So that's how old this controller is, and it still mostly works.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I bought a wired controller as my primary controller because I didn't like wireless controllers as a kid.
Yeah, I've actually moved on to a Xbox One controller. I find the D-pad on it is really good for me. It's helped a lot.
I mean, that's what I'm going to pick up when my job picks up, probably, is one of those custom Xbox 360 controllers.
So the L button worked enough for you to run, but not well enough to do the glitch with it?
Yeah, it's too sticky, so I can't actually tie... Because it's for people who don't actually realize, that is you have to hit both buttons on the same frame. It's not lenient, that glitch. So yeah, it's enough that I can hold it and then press RB to trigger run-in, but I can't press LB and A on the exact same frame every time.
Okay. Yeah, I figured that must be what was happening.
Yeah, it's super sticky, so it won't actually work. That's what happened.
Do you think you would have been able to soft reset if you had to?
Oh yeah, I had already tested soft reset, and if I had to. If I got paralocked or something, I could soft reset, because I can hold the button, but I can't precision press it. I can't control. That's why all my runs were slightly slower than they would be. Like, usually I can run before the menu pops up, but a lot of the time the menu would pop up.
Meanwhile, Shinbreaker, that was a new personal best for you, was it not?
That was a great run.
Yeah, I was not expecting PB out of that. I until I got to that Kraken split, I didn't think it was going to happen at all, because my late game was pretty good on, except for the Kraken split on my PB, and my refights split. Unlike most players, like between Kraken and T-Mat 2, I don't have any sub splits, but I had a 2-minute gold over my previous gold on that, my previous PB. So the whole run, I was like, oh, I'm 2 minutes ahead. Well, that doesn't mean anything. I'll probably lose 3 minutes on the Chaos Shrine. And then when I got that gold in the Sunken Shrine, was 4 minutes ahead, I realized, oh, that's probably going to happen today. And that means both runs I've had this tournament, I've gotten PBs. That's two PBs in 6 days. My previous PB was last February, so it's almost a year between PBs, and then I got 2 in a week.
That's great.
So we'll be seeing sub 130 from you next week, right?
Oh, that's a plan. See, every race I'm going to PB. That's now my goal for the tournament. So, yeah.
Yeah, it did get to a point where like the RNG got to me to a point where I wasn't playing. Like, I probably could have even played better with the R. Like, honestly, the RB menu and felt really good. I won't lie. That
I can't go left anyway.
Good. Yeah, left I have a harder time with normally, but it honestly was fun to have that challenge.
Yeah, actually, some people were joking in chat about RB only percent. Part of you wants to just have to do that for a race sometime for fun.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one time I want to do random classes R only or something, some weird restriction on the glitch so that you can't actually glitch optimal equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm good.
One thing I've been doing recently in races that I did not do today, I just forgot to, is I've been and I don't know if it's optimal or not, I've been putting the black garb on my warrior and my white mage after the class upgrade, because at that point the ninja can equip the axe, and I was wondering if any of you guys knew if that was actually something that saved time or not.
Probably not, because the only full dungeon that you have that for is like you'd have that for the dungeon, the lava dungeon, where you barely get encounters, and then it's not hard to run from anything in
Sunken
unless you can't run from it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably not worth it just because of that. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have already done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever do that, so.
I wouldn't say it's good at all because it's just too short of a time.
Yeah.
So with the win today, Shin, you're now 2-0 in the group, and you're in pretty good shape to advance to the second part of the tournament. And
I think he's guaranteed to advance. Then all 2 wins are guaranteed. No,
actually,
no,
I think it might be because he beat Chrono.
There could still be a 3-way 2-1 tie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's 3-way 2-1 ties are lowest average. If someone if you go 3-0, then the other 2-1 is guaranteed. Because then I think it's
something like that. Yeah,
there would only be one more win possible. So yeah.
But I'm up against Chrono next. We actually have a really competitive bracket because we got right there, kind of at that split of the 17, 18, 19, where right in the middle of the brackets where you don't have the top seed versus the bottom seed. It's kind of
I saw ours and I was like, well, okay, this is kind of a group of death. That's what I felt when I saw our group. I'm like, oh man, except for the double because it's got double in it. But
yeah,
but Chrono, even his PB evens out because he has the worst race luck of anybody except for me.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, this was a whole lot of fun. I just want to thank everyone that's still on the stream, if it's still running. I don't even know if it still is, for watching. This has been a great deal of fun. And thanks for running against me, Xelnas. I think you actually had really good execution for what you had going on with the controller. You just had worse luck.
Thanks.
But I also want to thank Forsyth and Sigma for the awesome commentary. I actually had it going on my other speaker so it wouldn't interfere with the stream. I was listening the whole time. I was really enjoying the commentary.
Yeah, and thanks to Fiesel for letting us use the channel.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, guys. It was fun to finally get in one of these for commentary. I've been sick the last week and a half, so I've been itching to do this.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do.
Definitely.
All right.
Yep.
Well, that being said, I'm gonna head off. I'm going to PAX in the morning in San Antonio, so I will catch you guys later. Thanks so much for the stream.
Thank you, guys.
No problem. Thank you guys for racing.
For those of you that are still here, there's more FF races tomorrow. They're currently scheduled for 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. There's also there's a Super Metroid race, and I believe there's also a Shovel Knight race tomorrow on the schedule. I personally have my own race, I think, on Saturday morning. I'm not sure if it'll be on this channel, and I believe, Sigma, you're also running on Sunday morning?
Yeah, I have Sunday morning, at least one, maybe two back to back.
So with that, we'll say goodnight to you guys.
Yeah,
Good night, everybody, for watching, and have a good evening.
Do we want to raid anybody here?
Is there anybody to raid? We gotta find somebody to raid.
Is anybody running Final Fantasy? Well, we are.
See a bunch of Final Fantasy randomizers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Discord didn't show anybody, I don't think, for Final Fantasy 1 runners.
Okay.
Well, we tried.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Y'all have a good night.
All right, you too.
Take care.
Thanks.